only podcast that champions diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging through the power of human leadership stories. Brace yourself for some inspiring tales of fearless DEIB advocates who dare to challenge the status quo, pushing boundaries and sparking change in every corner of our world. In every episode, we'll bring you heart stirring narratives, frank discussions, and unshakable truths from those leading the charge towards a more equitable future. Today, I am honored to have a distinguished guest who has dedicated his life to promoting harmony, peace, and secular values in our society. Joining us is none other than Dr. Ram Puniyani, an esteemed professor who had made the decision to leave his position at IIT Bombay in 2004 and actively engage with critical issues that impact our collective well-being. Dr. Puniyani is currently the president of the Center for Study of Society and Secularism in Mumbai, where he continues to champion the cause of social harmony. Throughout his career, he has been associated with various secular initiatives, shedding light on the violation of human rights faced by marginalized communities. His investigations and insights have contributed significantly to our understanding of the challenges posed by communal politics and the urgent need for a more inclusive society. A prolific author, Dr. Ram Puniyani has penned several impactful books that dissect the interplay of caste, communalism, nationalism, and religion in contemporary India. The titles such as Caste and Communalism, Religious Nationalism, and Social Perception Violence, busting myths against minorities, he continues to challenge misconceptions and advocates for a more just, equal society. Recognized for his immense contribution, Dr. Puniyani has been honored with prestigious awards, including the Indira Gandhi National Integration Award and the National Communal Harmony Award. His weekly columns on secular values and human rights defense are widely read, and his thought-provoking lectures and workshops have had a transformational impact across the country. I'm thrilled to have you, Dr. Ram Puniyani, with us today. Welcome to Baachu Talk Equity Matters.
Thank you very much, Bhaskar, for this generous introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ram Puniyani. So let's start from the very beginning. Talk us through where were you born, and let's talk about your early life and upbringing.
Yeah. See, I was born in a place which is now in Pakistan.
Okay.
There is a place in Pakistan called Jhang. So my grandfather was a farmer, and he used to come to a place called Nagpur in central India in the lean periods to do the cloth business. So after partition, my family decided to move to Nagpur. So primarily I was brought up and all my education took place in Nagpur, which is now part of Madhya Pradesh, in the heart of the country. And my family had a small cloth business. So when we grew up, I grew up with multiple influences. One was our uncles and aunties telling the stories of the partition violence, how we lost some of the relatives in the partition violence. That was on one side. Second side, there was a struggle that family should survive. So we all, the brothers and even our young uncles, had to help in the family business. That was the second aspect. Third aspect was my grandfather was very keen that we should get educated. He used to give a lot of importance to education. So we took that education seriously, and I tried to come up in the school with okay studying. But school was one part. Second part was the observation of society.
Yes.
Because our study room, we didn't have a separate study room. So we used to sit in the roadside shop, we brothers and our two uncles. There we used to study. So actually then, in hindsight, I recall that was the biggest study of the society. Because if there is a flowing road, flowing traffic, festivals are being organized, people are taking out religious processions. And my grandfather and uncle who used to manage the shop, they used to have a lot of visitors. That means one was the customers, second were the relatives also who used to drop in, and they used to have a lot of chit chat, sharing life and all that. And we used to listen to that. So in hindsight, I feel that fed a lot into me to understand the society. That was the early period of the life.
Wow. How was the transition? How old were you when you relocated from then Pakistan to Nagpur?
Yeah, I
Wow.
was, I think, 1.5 years old.
Okay.
That's what my mother tells me. So I have no memories of that tragedy and the
Yes.
violence. I don't have a memory.
Yes.
And but when I came up, then I heard these stories, but I took it in a stride.
Hmm.
At a very early age, I started getting attracted by the freedom movement, the other side of it, because partition was on the one side, freedom movement was on the other. So I started
Hmm.
getting more fascinated by the stories of the revolutionaries like Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Ashfaqullah on one side, Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, Subhash Bose on the other. These were the things which dominated heavily. And somehow, one of my uncles, he was very bright at studies and sports also. In
Hmm.
addition, he took fondness for Hindi literature. Now, he was our uncle and also a role model and also a sort of a mentor. So I tried to emulate him, emulate not successfully, but then I took liking for Hindi literature. And
Hmm.
Hindi literature, when I went through it, it completed the picture of the Indian society in my mind. Particularly, I think one of the greatest authors in Hindi, Munshi Premchand, his stories, novels, apart from other writers like Upendranath Ashk and the translated works of Sharad Chandra Chattopadhyay, Rabindranath Tagore. So that became my central hobby in my childhood, in my growing years. Apart from, being okay in the studies. So all my sparing time used to go in study of literature, and mainly it used to give me a lot of pleasure. Of course, now in hindsight, I see pleasure was one aspect which I was absorbing directly. But on the sidelines, the understanding of society was also developing, the value.
Hmm.
Because, like in Sharad Chandra's novels, Pather Davi, I still remember how women's struggles are there to come in the society in the modern time.
Hmm.
Rabindranath Tagore's novels, translated in Hindi, they gave a different picture. And Munshi Premchand gave a very great picture, like a canvas, like the society standing in front of you, village community, farmers' problems, the landlord, the money lender, the cattle which he breeds, the crop which he brings up. I was not in the village, but village life became very clear to my mind, even in that. These are the few authors I recall, because that is like a sort of a 50 years ago, 55 years ago. But
Yes.
a lot of it remained in my mind, which shaped my other interest in times to come.
Mm. Wow, wow, wow. I think I wish children now also had the same passion in reading books and
Yeah,
all.
I know, I know. In the
But
mobile era, it is difficult.
yes, that's it. So, but you moved into a different country growing up in Nagpur, and even though you say you were okay in your studies, you ended up in IIT Bombay. So I wish I'm as okay as you. But how was it? I mean, like academically, you were there, and how was it in the 1960s and 70s education in India? And how was
Uh,
not?
1960s and 70s, fortunately, school was a real place of learning.
Mm,
And we had good teachers who were, and I was a very proactive student. I used to study, okay, try to put my best. And I used to like science, physics, mathematics, Hindi literature. Most of the things I used to like. And but later on, as I went up, I tried my hand on writing Hindi literature. Of course, I never succeeded, but I remained restricted to the school magazine. But beyond that, I could not go. Meanwhile, what happened? My uncle, who was a great inspirer, Shantilal, he had that time, there was an attempt to popularize Hindi, and there were exams like Prathama, Visharad, Sahitya Ratna. So he was very bright. Apart from studies, he cleared these exams also. So I also tried to do, I also went up to Visharad stage of Hindi learning. So this was one side. After my matriculation, then it was he who decided that I should become a doctor. So IIT connection, I'll tell you how IIT connection comes. So I went into college. That time 11th used to be in the college. So 11th and 12th I did fairly okay to get admission to medical college. So unlike the present competitions, it was not much. So I could walk in easily with a monthly fees of 16 rupees at that time. So in between those 2 years in the college again exposed me to diverse cultures.
Mm.
Like I was in one Catholic, not Christian mission school for 1 year. There I saw the methods of fathers. Then the students were from different backgrounds. There were Muslims, there were Christians, there were Hindus, and we were as thick as thieves as far as friendships are concerned. So that also I learned, and there I also learned to even sort of a enjoy life in the sense that not just a bookworm, not just a this thing. I used to fully participate in the college activities, picnics, then evening singing programs and other things. That also used to enjoy. This was on one side. On the second side also, I must emphasize in the slightly a period parallel to this, in our community, the Punjabi, what we call, we came from Jung. So there was a sort of a lot of festivals we used to organize. And festivals, we used to participate very actively, like, Diwali, Dashera, Holi. They used to be, we should be looking forward to it. It was such a pleasure in a way that Diwali comes and you light the lamps, you enjoy the sweets, you share with your this thing. And then there is one another phenomenon, which even now there is in North India, that we used to have a 10-day Ram Leela, that
Hey.
based on Ramayana, there used to be a 10-day whole staging of that recreation of Lord Ram's life. And that used to be a fantastic type of a entertainment, come learning, plus social interaction. So that we used to have a great fun. Then our community used to have a lot of religious processions at Dashera, then killing of Ravan. Today, of course, I will see it in a different way, but that time I didn't understand the deeper meaning of it. So as a social function, it was a sort of a great amount of uh, pleasure to have friends, families, and the community around these functions. So
Mm.
after I came to college for 2 years, one of the years I spent in the Christian Mission College, where there used to be a lot of occasional monthly programs at least of entertainment in the evening. So I used to go all the way to the college just for that. It was a real fun. And I developed a lot of good friends. And that time, of course, this was not there, that your friend is a Hindu or a Muslim or that what you belong. Of course, uh, friendship with girls was not there. But amongst ourselves, we used to have a great amount of fun. So that's what, when I walked into medical college, the atmosphere was different. First 1.5 years was very tough.
Mm.
Because, first one, basically I'm a medical doctor, MBBS, MD. So first 1.5 years was tough because you are dissecting the dead body, and then your demonstrator is teaching you this is the nerve, this is the vein, this is the artery, this is the muscle. You read that, you do that. But of course, the pace was good enough for me to absorb it. So first year was tough, but I cleared it. Now, when the second year came, that came very important thing. People used to say, "Oh, that second MBBS, which used to begin 1.5 years after the first entry, that people used to say is a lighter year."
Mm.
So there were only 3 subjects at that time. So we had a group of around 8-10 friends, and as a matter of regular habit, we used to bunk the college one of the days of the week. So we used to come. One of the friends said, "Chalo, we will just bunk the college." So what to do? You go to other colleges to meet your earlier friends. Then you go to a nearby forest. There was a nearby forest. Then you pluck berries, like not very far, but close to our one of the old colleges. Pluck the berries, come see the matinee show, which of course was not very affordable, and then come back home posing, "Oh, I am very tired for the things are so." So those type of mischiefs lasted for 1 year. But of course, after that, we all became sincere about tried to take our studies sincerely and cleared that. And then third MBBS again was very tough because there were 5 subjects and all those heavy books, 800, 1000 page books. At that time, that 1.5 years went very tough. And then after that, during meanwhile, other things what happened, that my parallel stream continued. Literature, society. So in between, before entering medical college, I took a great fondness to understand religion. I took a great fondness and I said, how can religions be so different? There is Hinduism, there is Islam, there is Christianity, there is Zoroastrianism, and everybody says they are great. So 1 or 2 years, I tried to go through some of the literature on religion. I didn't grasp much, but I came to a particular conclusion, and that was, I treasure it till today. Of course, I tried to flirt with the books, reading few pages here, few pages there, some philosopher here, some philosopher there. But that helped me evolve my idea about religion. And I came to a conclusion which I wrote an article in our medical college magazine. Of course, it was a very student-like article, but that was Humanity, My Religion. So there I talked about Hinduism, what great values it has, Islam, how nice values it has, Christianity, what nice values it has. So means that became clear at this time. So this was part one of my consolidating my engagement with social understanding. That religion, I came to a conclusion that it is basically humanism, which should be the religion. So after this, when I was in medical college, especially there is a period of internship. 1 year of internship, you get a lot of time. You don't know how to kill the time. So there, of course, I didn't have problem of killing the time. In our Nagpur, there were 2 or 3 university libraries. So they were my regular jaunts. And here, something else clicked. And what clicked was when I was living in our house, I used to go to the school. I used to see poverty all around. Then when I came to medical college, I saw, we had to attend OPD, outpatient department, or even wards later on we attended. So I could see the pathetic condition of the patients coming there. So that brought me to this question of why there is economic disparity in the society. So here another track got added on. So first I close a chapter of religion in my limited way. Then chapter begins about social inequality. And for understanding social inequality, then I landed up with a lot of this socialist thinkers, Ram Puniyani, Jayaprakash Narayan. And finally, I landed up with Karl Marx. And it was not a frightening thing. In a way, I read first about communism, not from a communist book. I read about communism from a book by Chester Bowles. Chester Bowles, who was an American ambassador in India. He had written about Vietnam, India, this thing. And of course, he was critical. But I said, he's criticizing, he's trying to see, but what is it actually? So that was one part. Now, prior to this, one more thing I must add, which I forgot to tell, before coming to this journey about social inequality. First part of social inequality, which touched me deeply, that was that if I'm becoming a doctor, so why not as a doctor, I serve the poor Adivasi villagers for my life. So that became my major mission for a long time. Inside, you keep dreaming, and that's something which keeps you going. So there I came across one African missionary called Albert Schweitzer. Albert Schweitzer's life inspired me a lot. And I thought, okay, I will do my MBBS, MD, if this is possible. Then I will go and work as a missionary. So that I closed there. But meanwhile, when I started reading about socialism, communism, economic disparities, so this Chester Bowles book, which was about, I'm forgetting the name of the book, that must be 64, 65. So from there, I thought, I must study, I must try to know what communism is. Because that time, there was a strong wave against communists also. If you remember, America at that time was, as it is America currently, is against Islam, Islamophobia generated. That I'll explain. That time, communists were the major targets. So there used to be a lot of jokes when I used to read communist literature. Sometimes I used to leave by mistake a book on my in my hospital room, this thing, etc., etc. So one of my professors, he saw, he got frightened. He said, "Oh, you're reading these books. You will have to be careful. We'll have to appoint. We'll have to build a sort of a metal detector." Yeah, my professor who guided me for MD. So he joked like this. Another professor, he said, "Arey, you are such a good person. And if you become a communist, we'll be losing you." And so, anyway, but I took it all in a stride. I said, it is a journey. I can't avoid understanding this part of a major ideology, which of course is criticized by many, but is truth I should try to know. So that's how the journey went on. And then by this time, then from Albert Schweitzer phase, I came to the phase that, okay, I have to be part of a social movement which tries to change the society. So this was, and then I started proactively thinking, how can I contribute to proactively changing the society? Meanwhile, my there was a very important event which took place, and that was a decade of left movement in India. And in that left movement, I also identified strongly with the left at that time. Of course, now the ideas are slightly different in that phase. So what happened? I was, we residents, medical residents, we have to stay in the hospital 24-hour, be on call, morning round, evening round, etc. So I was always thinking, how can I spend more time meaningfully for social movement? So by this time I was doing my MD in medicine. So my exam was 3 months away, and I felt that what I am doing, ultimately I have to work for social betterment. Why I'm trying to become a doctor? I must try to work for organizing workers and all that. So I went and met, 3 months are there for my MD exam. So I just dropped going to college 2-3 days. I was mulling over what to do. And then I took appointment from one of the left leaders. He was a big trade union leader in Nagpur. Now, of course, he was much more mature than myself. So I invited him to my place for a cup of tea. And I said, okay, I want to join your movement from tomorrow. He listened to me very, very, very maturely. He listened to me all that. And he said, okay, how many months are there for you to clear your MD? I said, 3 months. So he said, you have waited so long. Why not do your MD and then come to the movement? So that made me go again for completing my medicine, MD medicine. First time I could not clear, but that is normally the case. The first time only very, very brilliant people do, which of course I don't claim. But second time then I cleared it. But by now what happened? In the first attempt, I had prepared enough. So I thought now I can associate with the youth group, students group. So after this, my MD completion, we started a group called Spark Socialist Forum. Spark Socialist Forum, and it became a major center of discussion in Nagpur. It was a main discussion center. And so, like medical college students who knew me as a teacher, plus I met my future wife also there. And other used to come, and we used to meet every Friday, invite some person who's expert in sociology or political science or economics or any culture field of life. So we used to have a good discussion. 30, 40 youth students used to come. So we could develop a very good group for this thing. So meanwhile, then as the things were going up, I decided that I will quit my job. By that time, I also was lucky to get lecturership in medical college. So with lecturership, I was able to do part of this. But then I said, "Hey, there is no point in combining the two. Let me go to the public area and public will take care of me." So meanwhile, me and my wife, future wife, we became very good friends. And then I decided to quit the job. I quit the job and I went and started working for workers' movement all the day. So listening to workers plea, how they form unions, how unions work, and what are their demands. So in that phase, I became part of a industrial area called Hingna MIDC, and I was fully involved in that. Plus, in the left movement also, I made some this thing. Meanwhile, you know that my writing came back to me as I was this I combined that time. On one hand, talking about socialism, other hand, trying to understand it. So I wrote one of a small pamphlet, Samajwad Kya Hai? Of course, others might have benefited or not. I benefited in the writing process. In the writing process, I knew how to do a bit of a research, how to do put your ideas. So that took me forward. And for 2 years, then after leaving my job, I continued working in the trade union movement of Nagpur, plus also associated with the left movement. Another interesting thing happened. When we were doing this in Nagpur, when a cricket stadium was being built, and cricket stadium when it was being built, probably due to a faulty system, 7 workers got killed. They fell from the scaffolding. 7 workers got killed. We could not believe it. We took out a procession and we gherawed the mayor of the city, deputy mayor of the city, demanding that your infrastructure should be strong. How come 7 workers have died under your supervision? You should have taken care of that. And those workers got buried in this place where they fell. And that was such a shocking thing for us. So that was one major reminder. Second thing is that when associating with workers, then they also realized that we are serious about it. They started reciprocating to us. So that gave a good feeling. Now, meanwhile, what happened, as our group was developing in Nagpur, other groups from Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, they started coming and meeting us. And that time, of course, in Marxism also, left also, there were plethora of ideas. If there are 2 Marxists, there are 3 opinions. If there are 10 of the Marxists or leftists, there are 4 groups working. So there used to be debates. This is good, that is good. And I said, I don't want to commit to anything, but I can commit to one thing. I understand that workers' demands are genuine. So I'll associate with that. And parallelly, I will study. So I studied Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, and Vietnamese Revolution Part 2. So this was going on one side. And meanwhile, of course, one very well-known journalist who is no more there, Praful Bidwai, and one great Marxist thinker who is currently also contributing brilliantly to Marxist theory, Jairus Banaji. We came in contact with 2 of them. They were, of course, intellectual giants, and we tried to learn from them this thing. So Praful Bidwai suggested to me, by that time, of course, in between personal life, I got married to my wife, court marriage, by spending 11 rupees at that time. And the marriage incident, my wife recalls much better than me, that when we went to the registrar's office, the registrar said, "Oh, where are the garlands?" I said, "We don't have garlands." So one of the friends ran to bring the garlands. He said, "Where are the sweets?" I said, "We haven't brought any sweet." Another friend went to bring the sweets. And in that evening, with our 8-10 friends, we had a party in which we had bread, banana, and half a cup of tea. That was our marriage expenses. So meanwhile, then Praful Bidwai was the one. Then I started interacting. coming to Bombay. Occasionally I used to come and meet workers' leaders and workers. So Professor Bidwai suggested to me, because many of them were from GNU, very proficient in English, very proficient in their very intellectually high caliber. But talking in Hindi to the workers was not very easy for them. So they suggested, why don't you shift to Bombay and you are okay at Hindi and all that, so we can address the workers group nicely. I didn't think for 2 days, and I said, okay, I'm coming. How will I live? Where I will live? All in the dark. So that was the spirit at that time. Okay, this is to be done. This is to be done. So fortunately, my wife was very understanding. So she's very understanding even today. That's how I'm able to do all these things which are very out of the box. So I shifted to Bombay for 2 years. Then again, I kept totally engaged with trade union movement, apart from studying. So those details I will not go, but I was coming to one conclusion at theoretical level, that there may be many theories, but the central change which occurs in the society is, number one, by strengthening democracy. Now this was, and second thing which I came, the central change which comes in the society can come only through social movements. And by that time I realized there are movements of women's movement for equality. There are movements of Dalits. So far, in my understanding, Dalits were not there. So now Dalits came into my understanding. Adivasis were not much. They also came into my understanding. So I then came to a stop where I stopped for a long time. That well, social movements are the key to social change. So no thisism, no thatism, social change, social movement, standing with the rights of the oppressed and marginalized. So this was coming up. So meanwhile, what happened? Another personal front. I'm trying to shift from personal to political and both. Meanwhile, when I was working full time for trade unions, now I was getting a small support from the group, but that was not sufficient. So, and we were expecting our first baby. So that time I said, as a father, I can't ignore my duty, because my wife had recently completed her MBBS. So she was getting a very marginal amount as an intern. So then I said, okay, let me go back to the job. So with some struggles, I applied for a job in IIT. There was a job vacant of IIT medical officer. I applied in that. That job was for MBBS. So I was already MD with some experience. So they selected me. And then IIT journey began. So this journey also, when it began, I had some basic inkling for reading, writing, research, lecturing. So what happened? The engineering professors, they used to be very pally with me for various reasons. Somehow I was, as a doctor, I must not boast myself. As a doctor, I became fairly popular in the campus. And starting from class 4 to professors, I used to be giving them the same treatment. So these professors became friendly, and I used to tell them that I'm interested in teaching. So some of the professors started inviting me to give the lectures in their courses. Like one of the professors was teaching blood flow, mathematical modeling of blood flow. So he said, why don't you give some lectures in physiology? I said, I'm ready. I prepared and gave lectures. Not bad. Another professor said, I'm teaching bioinstrumentation. Can you take some lectures on that? I said, fine, I'm ready. So meanwhile, what happened? They started biomedical engineering department. I was already associated with 8-10 professors who were collaborating with me. So one of the professors, when I said there is a thing called rheology. Now I'll explain this. Rheology means science of blood flow. So I understood it. I developed a small laboratory of that. because academia fascinated me. So I thought, okay, I will try to see if that works. So that lab worked, and then when biomedical engineering department started recruiting, because of my background of teaching human physiology, developing lab, I shifted to biomedical engineering. So that's how I was not bright enough to be an IIT student, but I became okay as a IIT faculty because I was teaching human physiology, blood flow, etc. So this is on one. On second hand, what happened when we were working with the workers, the decade of 1980s.
Mm.
In my spare time, I used to go to factories, interact with workers, and we realized that most of the industrialists, in my language, they have understood more from Marx than the trade unionists. What did industrialists learn from Marx? That if workers are centralized at one place, their agitating power is strong. So what
Mm.
to do? What to do? You fragment the production. You take the production to small places. Number one. Number two, automate the machines. So number of workers reduces. So we were seeing the death of big industrial production in the decades of 1980s. So I tried to engage with the factory workers which were closing down. And for 2-3 years with some of my friends, I started working there. Meanwhile, one more incident I must tell you. In 1983 or 84, there was a Bhopal gas disaster. If you remember that UCC carbide company,
So,
because of lack of proper safety measures, there
mm.
was a huge leak of gas and hundreds of workers died. So that time I was a bit associated with the trade union people, and we formed a group. I thought I'll use my skills as a doctor, and we formed a trade union relief committee. So trade unions raised the funds, and me and some other doctors, we went to work in the Bhopal with the victims. So this was one incident. So two things are happening. So after this 2 years of work in Bhopal, means I used to go intermittently, but mainly I used to be on the job and all that. Now here factories are closing down. So we are working with the workers whose factories who are losing their employment. I was wanted to engage seriously with them because I believe that it is more important to be with the deprived and marginalized section. So I didn't care whether they can be organized or not organized. So I got full-fledged into that for 2-3 years. Now what happened? In 92, there was demolition of Babri Mosque.
Mm.
When I was seeing in between, this Rath Yatra of Advani and the violence, I did not take it seriously. Honestly, I was watching it, but I did not take it seriously. I did not take even 1984 Sikh massacre also seriously. I thought, okay, they are passing phases. Anyway, single anti-Sikh massacre was a single go thing, horrific, beyond words. But I thought, as society is getting democratized more, these things will pass off. That was my understanding. So, and as Rath Yatra started, I did not take it seriously, deeply. But when Babri Mosque was demolished, that night while watching TV, I thought this phenomenon of communalism is no ordinary phenomenon. It is primarily targeted at restricting our democratic space. It is targeting at depriving the workers and Dalits of their rights. This somehow struck me because of my reading. So the next day, Mumbai witnessed horrific violence. So here then I thought the rest of my life, I'll try to understand communalism, communal violence, this killing of innocent people, and the politics which is behind that.
Mm.
So then I came across my second mentor, Asghar Ali Engineer, who's of course one of the great scholars of Islam, and other friends like Uday Mehta and others. I came in contact, and we formed a group called Ekta, Unity, Communal for Committee for Communal Amity. So what we used to do, we used to first protest. First, there was some relief work that Asghar Ali engineer did very nicely. I was not much involved in that. But later on, the meeting started, addressing people started. That this phenomenon of communalism is not due to religion. It is not due to morality of religion. Religion is being abused for political goals of a section of society. I came to this understanding. So here, interesting thing happened after 92. First thing they called the slogan against Muslim kings, Babar ki aulad, sons of Babar, go to Pakistan or go to Kabristan, go to graveyard or go to Pakistan. So that shook me. Second thing which shook me was in the IIT campus where I was staying. It was not a ivory tower that way. Most of the students started shouting the slogan of Jai Shri Ram, not as a devotional slogan, but as a aggressive slogan. And most of the faculty started talking, oh, Muslims are like that, Muslims are like that, this thing and all that. Family members, same thing. So I thought I must try to understand what is a reality. So there then what I took out my notebooks. I collected the books on history. Of course, India that way, worsening communal problem is there. But one thing I'm very proud of, that Indian scholars have contributed immensely to the understanding of the student. It may be Romila Thopar, Irfan Habib, Harbans Mukhia, R.S. Sharma. So very sincerely, after coming from the office, I used to sit down, take out the books and take the notes as if I have to appear in the exam. And there I approached some of my friends that, okay, I think RSS is behind the whole thing. I'm being very frank about it. So why not we write something on RSS? So my friends, of course, were scholarly, much more accomplished, and I had nothing to show as to my scholarly attainment. So they probably thought in their own way, but I thought I will do it. I devoted singularly 2 years picking up material, making notes, making my own small booklet, which came out as a book called Fascism of Sangh Parivar. Not very good book, but what it did to me, that it made the whole process transparent in front of me. That it may be Muslim communalism, it may be Hindu communalism, they are basically against the democratic rights of the weaker sections of society. It may be Buddhist fundamentalism, Christian fundamentalism. They want to stick to the pre-modern hierarchical values. Pre-modern hierarchy, where a landlord and the peasant, man and the woman, there is a hierarchy, which is structural. So coming of democracy, what it does, it makes those hierarchies fluid, functional, and the social movements try to destroy those hierarchies. So this I became clear. And then, with this, then the further engagement began. I started going to colleges to address the students, and different groups used to call me. So, and I developed a sort of a style where I was not giving lectures in that sense. I generally took it in sort of an interactive manner. Interactive means, what do you think? What are the questions? They used to outline the questions. I used to answer. And then I used to tell them that you can stop me wherever you like, where you want. So that involving them in the process, I used to enjoy. And probably they also like that you don't have a lecture where after 12 minutes you fall asleep. So that thing developed. And so that kept me engaged going for a long time.
Wow. Dr. Ram, I think I can sit and hear this for hours. I mean, like, what a fascinating journey. I mean, like, just share us your experience of teaching and how it influenced your path towards activism.
Yes, see, even when I was in medical college, I was trying to give a good amount of focus to my teaching. And I used to see that it's not that I have to express myself. It is the students who have to absorb it. So my effort should be that student absorb it. So that made me slightly more pally with the students. And I never used to take attendance. I declared that whosoever wants to be marked absent, tell me. Otherwise, everybody is present. So if you like my lecture, come. Otherwise, attendance is no. I used to defy the rule of the college, the rule of the university. Of course, now they can't punish me for that because I'm out of it. But still, the attendance used to be close to 100%. So that as a teacher, I felt that the basic responsibility of teacher is not to express herself or himself, but to see that the student learns it. So that took me in these lectures and interactions. So things used to happen. One is the people used to keep awake, get engaged till the end. I used to enjoy it. I used to also learn that, what they are thinking. So every such interactive session used to give me more insights. So that's how I could carry on this work.
I think it's a nice balance. I think one end you always had that conscious understanding of society around you, but then your ability to write, read, volunteer, being a doctor, teacher, medical researcher also came out with a lot of support to you. So how do they complement each other in defining Dr. Ram Puniyani?
See, one thing is there that as I was going along, I got more and more involved in this as a sort of a moral commitment for social change. I must say about myself, how it has come, I don't know. But over a period of time, this has become a central commitment for me that I should try to contribute whatever little I can do for social change. So I used to go for lectures, and meanwhile, what happened? While working in IIT, I took sabbatical, I took leaves, I exhausted, and we used to have 2 months vacation. So during that time, I used to pick up on my writing. So whatever issues I encountered, because in my writings, of course, I'm not a very popular writer as a book writer, but I found that, see, this communalism in India, like in Pakistan, communalism affects Hindus, Christians, and Muslim minorities also, Shia, Qadiani, Ahmadiyya. So that is in Pakistan. In America, Christian fundamentalism, it affects women in primary and the non-whites. In Sri Lanka, the Buddhist fundamentalism, it affected Hindu Tamils to a great extent. Okay. So in India, I realized that this communalism is affecting, number one, religious minorities, Muslims, Christians, then Dalits, Adivasis, and women. So one by one, I took up these things in my writings. So there is a volume on each, which I tried to come out. Of course, not very popular and all that, but question is, I'm satisfied that this helped me in learning a great deal. And then, another thing, what happened, after 2009, 11, 2001, another thing came up, Islamic terrorism. So that forced me to learn as to what is this terrorism, how has Al-Qaeda come up, how is this Osama bin Laden suddenly coming up in the decades of 90s. Islam is 1400 years old, but how Islamic terrorism is coming up now. So there I tried to understand politics of oil, the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, America countering it by promoting Muslim fundamentalist group, by resorting to Wahhabi Islam. And I was shocked to read Mahmood Mamdani's book, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, where he cites CIA documents that America funding these groups, fundamentalist groups, America funding terrorist Muslim groups. So, iceberg above what we see, that Muslim has done a terror, but where are the roots? Where are the roots? Because Islam also in my childhood and all through my life, one of my closest friends in the college, I come back to it somehow. One of my closest friends in medical college was a person who was a Muslim, and we used to study together. He used to come to my house. I used to go to his house. And if he didn't come to my house for 2 weeks, my mother used to say in my Punjabi language, Kasim bahut dinna to nahi aaya. And Kasim has not come from many days. What happened? So then I used to complain to him and he used to be ready. Okay, here I am. I used to go to his house. So this type of things which were at the back of the things, this started surfacing. Because in Indian culture, if you see, we have Bhakti tradition, we have Sufi tradition. Like in Maharashtra itself, there is one Varkari tradition. Varkari tradition, Vithoba, Lord Krishna's another form. People follow it. Absolutely popular. And many of the followers of this Varkari tradition, they are Muslims. On Sheikh Muhammad Dargah. So this all I kept learning and also simultaneously writing. So that was one habit I cultivated, that you understand, if you write, your ideas become more clear. So if others become clear or not, at least you become clear about what you are writing. But fortunately, somehow others started liking it. Then comes a turning point. In 2002, after Gujarat violence, I could not resist myself. I studied everything I used to study in proper detail. My lot of friends, by this time, I developed friends like Shabnam Hashmi, Harshmander, Tista Setalwar, Javed Anand, very accomplished people. So we used to also go and visit these places, inquire about this. Then in 2001, first time I must say that by 2002, I made up my mind that now I must quit the job. I must quit the job. So whatever leave was remaining, I exhausted it, kept working on my work. And after that, one semester I taught and put in my papers. So December 2004, I became totally free. And of course, all this was with full cooperation from my wife. So, and the very interesting story, how did I decide what will happen in future? In 2002, after this violence, I once went to the account department. And I asked them that if I take retirement, voluntary retirement in 2 years or 1 year time, how much pension I'll get, how much pension I'll get. So they gave me a figure. I felt very happy. I said, this is good enough for me. My wife is earning, my children are doing their own job, and I can survive with this. So accordingly, I put in my papers, quit the job, made a office in my house, one of the rooms. It was totally dedicated to my library. And one additional thing I started doing, that since big publishers published only 4 or 5 of my books, but I was more keen that books go further. So wherever I used to travel, I used to carry my books. One bag of books was always ready. I used to make it ready. So I used to carry it, and people used to really purchase it, or sometimes I used to compliment it and all. So these two things went going on. So on one hand, then from 2002, actually, I also started writing regular weekly column. So weekly column, because every time some issue comes up, to study it. So why to keep it to yourself? Big papers were not carrying it because my things are a bit very forthright. Hindu initially published 3, 4 of my articles. Hindustan Times published 3, 4 of my articles. But generally, Indian Express also published a couple of them. Then I said, okay, why to depend on that? Dr. Engineer had made a mailing list. So I accessed that mailing list. I used to write and put it on that mailing list and forget about it. At the bottom, it was clear that whosoever wants to republish it, they are free to do. So somehow I have maintained that practice. Now some websites, some small publication, pick it up. I have no complaints about that, because national newspapers will need a very proper standard and some sort of a ideological orientation, which is not too much oriented to one side. Of course, I have taken a side, that I am on the side of these deprived sections of society. Plus, also maybe my writing may not be that standard that national papers don't pick it up, but I have no complaints. They are getting properly circulated. and those who matter, it does reach them. So it's fine for me.
So it's I think you're blessed with so much support around you, Dr. Ram Puniyani, because I mean, like, in one end you chose to be different, coming from a family, especially having medical degree, then moving on to do biomedical engineering, lecturing, but still having the social conscious to doing that. You had a lot of support from your wife, your family, and things. But obviously, when you stand up for something, there is always criticism and backlashes from few people. So how do you handle these criticism backlashes from individuals or groups who may disagree with your views or ideologies?
See, one thing I decided that initially I used to get a lot of hate mail. And in between, what happened is Pakistan paper Dawn, one of the very reputed papers. They used to publish my articles regularly. At that time, I used to get the maximum hate mail.
Mm.
And personally, I had no problems with being called anti-Hindu. Of course, culturally, there can't be anybody more Hindu than me. With all festivals in my kitty, because when my parents died, I did all the Hindu rituals too for the satisfaction of the community. I didn't want to annoy them. So, of course, culturally, I'm very Hindu. Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all this, they are actually in my blood, page to page. So they started calling me anti-Hindu. In mind that. One time I got shaken was then when I got threats about my family. So that was a time, but still I did not know what to do. But once my articles in Dawn stopped, those threats got lessened. But anyway, I wrote on Kashmir, I wrote on these issues. So once I got a phone call from Kashmir, somebody threatening me with my life. So my wife got very worried. So we approached the police commissioner. A lot of my friends, everybody was there to stand with me. I don't have to name everybody. Ista Setalwar, Irfan Engineer, Lara Disani, everybody was standing with me. I was at the back row. I was laughing and enjoying it. My wife was crying. So police gave me security for 2 years. So the police was used to be with me all the time. Then I became very friends with the police security. So that police person became so friendly with me. He saw my lifestyle and he was very impressed. He used to come to my house, have tea. Then he used to bring particular type of roti. Jawar, and jawar, I don't know what is it called in English. Nice, lovely rotis he used to bring from his house to me. So anyway, but then came in COVID. And meanwhile, poor fellows used to come for 2 years. I used to feel pity for them. So I requested the commissioner, okay, stop security. I don't think there is too much threat to my life since my articles have stopped coming in Dawn. So after that, threats also reduced. But honestly, Bhaskar, Bhaskar, I'll tell you, I have no fear of my life. And I really recall now, I have tears in my eyes, but when we went to the police commissioner, my wife was crying. She was searching on Amazon for bulletproof jacket. And I was laughing. I did not take it seriously. So my friend, one of my very close friends, she also went and have a cup of tea. I was joking and laughing all through. So personal life, I have no fear. But of course, my family should be safe.
Yes. So thank you. I think, there is always one person hates you, there will be 100% who will be loving you, Dr. Ram Puniyani. I mean, that's how life goes on. Continue to inspire us. What point you motivated and you established the Center for Study of Society and Secularism, CSSS, and what are its main objectives?
CSSS, mainly it was founded by Dr. Asghar Ali Engineer. I got associated with it. And right from the beginning, I got associated with it. I was fully like his right hand. but we thought of holding workshops. He was a very tall scholar, so he had his own lot of schedule with him. But we started designing workshops, 7-day workshops, 5-day workshop, 2-day workshop. So this was for police personnel. But police personnel, we started conducting it. School teachers, college teachers, we started conducting it. And for general social activists also, we started conducting it. So that went on for a long time till this funding of the center came down. So in my center, where I am the chair president, main person who is working is Asghar Ali engineer's son Irfan. But we came up with the idea of peace centers, that rather than centralizing in Bombay, we should have scattered places. So currently 7 peace centers are active, where Irfan engineer, he particularly looks after it. Of course, it is always in consultation, and I'm not able to reach so much because my own travel is a bit different, because now I get a lot of invitations for lectures, conducting workshops for different groups. So that keeps me, plus my own little writing. And one more thing got added up, and that was a YouTube videos. YouTube videos, I got the idea of taping my videos. So initially, one cameraman came, he shot me for 2 days, English, Hindi. Then, my friend Shabnam Hashmi, she also got me shot in Hindi and English. So those videos started getting popular. So inspired by that, I thought, why not I focus on YouTube channel also. And I got one good assistant who initially helped me, but with some misunderstandings. So my YouTube channel, we got a good subscriber base. Viewership sometimes is good, sometimes not. But I am regular on my YouTube channel also. And center is totally supportive because it's a mailing list. I have total access. It's staff. They do my work for book page making and other things. Many of my books, which are rejected by big publishers, so I put it on the as a ebook, and that is as links we try to share. So that is also not bad, because one of my books which I did on Ambedkar and Gandhi, that got nearly 6,000 viewerships through the email circuit also. So it's okay. Like everybody cannot be lucky to have big publishers publishing their books. But my center has been this thing. And currently, because the funding is not there, so we are a bit slow on the workshops. We'll try to revive the workshops on a different basis, contributory basis. People contribute, come, and we interact with them. So that's
Thank you, sir. I think all will be well. So you have done a lot of work, a lot of public engagements, a lot of books, etc. But if you could share some of the particular pieces of books or campaigns that you're most proud of, please do share it with us.
See, campaigns wise, my association with people's tribunals in Madhya Pradesh, MP, attack on Christians, in Orissa, attack on Christians, and other associations with investigation on riots near Bombay. That I felt was very learning experience, and those reports also became fairly widely prevalent. Now, books-wise, of course, one idea which one of my friends put into my head, which I digested inside, was comic novel. Comic novel, here the text is precise and small and very focused, and it is accompanied by cartoons. So I worked on this for a few years because I was not getting any cartoonist. So first what I did, with few of the available cartoons and few of the pictures, I tried to make a flow of the problem of communalism. And it came out in, at least it must have circulated close to 1 lakh of copies. It went into Marathi, Gujarati, and probably in Malayalam, I'm not sure. So that book was a unique book in that sense. The comic novel concept applied to communalism. Same series I continued, which on terrorism also I came out with that. On social justice also I came out in that. On gender justice currently I am working on that. And that was mainly because of association with a good friend, Dr. Sharad Sharma. He is a great cartoonist and a great friend who has recently been awarded doctorate. So that series we did, it is there in the our freezer, but we will hopefully we'll bring it to the pipeline. But two of those, like on communalism and on terrorism, they have. I'm very satisfied with the work. Now, how far it reaches, I don't know. And currently, what I am happy about is that I am able to communicate to large gatherings also, to small groups also. And I don't mind talking to 15 people to 1500 people. I, of course, change my style depending on the audience. And I am able to communicate that. I'm partly satisfied. But of course, the bigger dissatisfaction is that society is big, very big. The next generation of activists, I have failed to promote. I have failed to bring them up. That is a biggest failure in life. And but of course, life goes on, and one will keep trying in that direction because country is very big. Single persons, whatever attainment is there, is never sufficient, and it should go on passing to a large number of people who do similar type of work. Now, currently, of course, I'm bit getting satisfied that many YouTubers have come up on their own. They're doing brilliant work, brilliant work. I must mention Rohit Upadhyay, Ashok Kumar Pandey, and many others who are focusing mainly on these topics. So that's where I am a bit satisfied. But more social activists, one should have been able to cultivate, promote, and bring up. That lacuna will always be there with me.
Sami, like I think this podcast or every video that you have released, every book that you published, every talk that you have done, Dr. Ram Puniyani, and I'm sure it has inspired people. I think they are just silent at some point. I'm sure they are going to come and share their love and support to you. But I've already seen a lot from searching YouTube and Instagrams and all the lovely messages that you. So continue to share us. So let's get into what we call the rapid random fire question round. Just to, I know it's a very dense and very important topic that we were talking about so far. But let's just get to know more about Dr. Ram Puniyani as a personality. So let's go. There is no right or wrong answer. It's just random and fun questions.
Yes, welcome.
So let's begin. Let me go with this one. This could be easy. Do you have a favorite song or a piece of music that always lifts your spirits?
Yeah, very much, very much. Actually, I'm very fond of old Hindi film songs. And in that Sahir Ludhianvi's song, Ye Duniya Agar Mil Bhi Jaye To Kya Ho. Actually, there are many such things which I keep singing in the bathroom. And my children make fun of me. But Ye Duniya Agar Mil Bhi Jaye To Kya Ho is one of those favorite songs which I keep humming to myself.
Nice, definitely. You should keep singing regardless of what others. Can you share a moment when you were awestruck meeting someone you admire, like a fanboy moment?
Yeah, of course. Fanboy moment in a way. I was awestruck by brilliance of Jairus Banaji, particularly, and by Asghar Ali Engineer, two of them. And of course, there was one another comrade, A.B. Bardhan. These three people, when I met, it was sort of a fan moment. I wish I can go towards what they have done as a sort of a people in attaining knowledge, attaining social movement. Those three people I will always recall. Fanboy moment.
That's nice. If you could travel back in time to observe a historical event firsthand, where would you go and why would you go there?
See, that is difficult to say because, we came from a family which was not academically oriented. My uncle, of course, did become an engineer, but he ended up doing business. So probably in hindsight, given the second chance, I should have taken up humanities, especially political science or philosophy, or that might have been sort of a better option for me. But of course, no regrets, because whatever I did, I tried to make up for that by self-learning those things in due course of time.
What's your go-to comfort food after a long day of work?
What is
Your go-to comfort food. What's your favorite food?
my favorite food? Oh, my favorite food actually, I'm very fond of sweets. And now lately I've developed blood sugar slightly. Otherwise, mangoes or things like jalebi, rasmalai, they are my favorite food. Other things are okay. Anything is all right, like dal, roti, chapati, sabzi. Everything is fine. But my basic craving is for sweets.
Hey, that's interesting. If you could pick up any three historical figures and you can have dinner with them, who would you choose to meet and why?
Yeah. Very interesting question. My answer will be, in today's context, my three historical figures are: first is Shahid-e-Azam Bhagat Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Second is Dr. Bhimrao Babasaheb Ambedkar. And third is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
Oh, nice. More or less around the same time they were used to live together, but that's good. So if you could master any musical instrument, what would you master and why?
Yeah, I think my granddaughter these days is learning keyboard.
Okay.
I wish I can learn it from her. She tried to teach me unsuccessfully. That I will try to learn from her, or as such, if I have time enough to devote time on learning a musical instrument. But I'm fascinated by keyboard.
Oh, that's interesting. So you have lectured, you have volunteered, you have written books, you have also taught students. Is there any funny or a memorable, light-hearted incidents from your experience so far that made you laugh or brought a smile to your face?
Yeah, there may be many, but one on the instant I remember. Once I was in Bhopal lecturing 3, 4 places, and that state minister, who was a friend of mine, he allotted a car to me. So there was a driver, and that driver used to listen to my lectures. So after third lecture, he said, "Sir, I can also give this lecture in the next meeting." I said, "Fine, but I must tell you that you may give the lecture, you give the lecture, but if people ask you question, then you tell them that I am your driver and I'll answer that question." It was sort of on lines of what Einstein did, that
Yes.
popular joke about Einstein is. So that happened because many times my lectures are repetitive because I want to communicate same thing to different set of people. So that brings humor to me also.
That's very funny. That's true. So, what's the funniest or most unusual experience you had while conducting research for your books or medical research or biomedical anything?
Yeah, biomedical research, of course, there may not be such a funny moment because it was more of a serious engagement where you have to go into this. But while researching into others in social field, many times I generally used to recall some story of Premchand or an anecdote from personal life relating to people of other communities, or recalling the incidents while while watching Ram Leela. Ram Leela, that used to be have a great place in our life. For 10 days, we used to keep awake to watch that. So those were many times things which come back to my mind in a different form.
So, what's the most amusing or unexpected question a student has ever asked you during one of your lectures?
Uh, yeah, actually, many students which ask a question, not students like IIT job, that questions were in the particular framework. But in these workshops, the question which I am not able to handle is that what about your safety? And second, more difficult question, why you are doing all this? So these are the two questions which I am not able to handle properly. Other questions I try to do justice.
Yes. So if you could choose one superhero power to help bridge religious divides and bring communal harmony, what superpower would you like to have and why?
As a person, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi.
Yes.
Of course, there can't be, in my imagination, there can't be a better person than him who stood for it till the end of his breath. And many times I say, I regret we don't have a Gandhi today who can bridge this divide and bring us to sanity through his own sacrifices.
If you were put in a sitcom or a TV show for 1 month, Dr. Ram Puniyani, which one would you choose to go and why?
TV show, sitcom, I think there is one satyahindi.com.
Right.
Satyahindi.com or second maybe Wire, in case they tolerate me. Satyahindi.com, of course, I have done a lot of series with them and fairly okay series. And if Wire, English, or even NewsClick, either of them, I'll be very happy to be spending all my time.
Imagine peace-loving aliens are visiting the earth. What misunderstandings would occur as they try to grasp human customs and traditions, especially in India?
Yeah, actually, this is I have a precedent in this. I don't know whether you have watched this film PK.
Yeah.
Amir Khan's film PK. So if an alien sees the current type of things, first thing I think he will become unconscious by shock. That how can somebody kill each other or try to do things in the name of cow, love jihad, or other type of things. So that may be the reaction of alien seeing our India today, or even a lot of things prevail in South Asian countries as such. That's something which I think will shock the alien to know it.
Right. In your experience, what role can educational institutions play in promoting secular values and fostering a culture of inclusivity?
See, I think secular institutions need to focus more on reaching to communities, trying to develop a sort of a language, mechanisms of communicating very difficult things to the average people in their own language. Here, when I use a language doesn't mean just Tamil or Hindi or that, it means that also, but it means that the way people can grasp it. Not that you show your scholarship and greatness, but you try to see institutions can try to develop that sort of a material. It may be in the form of books, pamphlets, leaflets, small videos, films, etc., or music. That I will expect those institutions committing themselves for these type of things.
What role, obviously you're very active in YouTube and Instagram, so what role do you believe social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram play in spreading awareness and promoting dialogue on social issues?
See, I think it is a mixed answer because major part of it is already hegemonized by the communal forces. Now, lately, from last 7 years, 10 years, the good channels have started coming up. And many young people and even old people have started channels which are trying to communicate. Just before I joined your podcast, I was in a channel called Bahujan Samvad. They take up topical issues. Today, they were trying to discuss, there is a popular Hindi thing, Hindu Khatre mein hai. They were trying to talk about that. So that type of channels. Then I mentioned two young friends, Ashok Kumar Pandey and Upadhyay. Those type of, and I'm just naming two because I know them closely, but there are many others which have come up. Aljit Anjum is there. Satya Hindi is doing a brilliant job. So it is picking up. And I have hope that they will pick up in big number. Don't go by 2 or 3 names I'm saying. There are, I think, more than hundreds of them which are trying to come up, promoting positive democratic values, promoting values of Indian Constitution. There are many who are coming up, and I'm happy about it that many such social media platforms are coming up, and many organizations are trying to focus on how to reach people. Like right-wing forces have built up their media networks, WhatsApp networks. So it's sort of a parallel network which communicates love, amity, peace, democratic values. They are coming up. Many of them are already working successfully, and many more will come up. That's my hope and wish.
So true. I think it will come up because there is always,
Yeah.
when there's a dark, there will always be a light.
Yeah.
I'm sure, right? It will work. So if you could go back in time and advise your younger self, just starting out as an activist, what advice would you give him?
Yeah, I will give the advice to myself if I was there to root myself more in the discipline of humanities, especially philosophy, political science, and sociology at the foundational level, so that understanding other things becomes easier. So that is the advice I would have given myself, because my development was random, something here, something there. There was no systematic planning about it. But if I'll advise myself to first root myself foundationally in philosophy, political science, and sociology, that would help me understanding these things much more.
So you had a lot of blessings in your life, your family, your mentors, your uncle, and everybody. But who are the other mentors and role models that have inspired you in your life and career?
See, I think as I have already named Asghar Ali Engineer.
Yes.
There is another couple, Tista Setalwad and Javed Anand. Excellent, brilliant, I think. Brave work by Tista Setalwad. Then my own colleague, Irfan Engineer. Excellent job. My friend Shabnam Hashmi and her partner, husband, Gaur Raza. Then Harsh Mandar, very close friend of mine, very dear friend of mine. Apurvanand, same. They all come in this category, whose work inspires me also. And I learn from whose work to strengthen my own clarity and my own work in various ways. Apart from, of course, the scholars whom I have not met, but whose books like Romila Thopar, K.N. Panikar, and Harbans Mukhia, whose work I follow and try to pick up from them. But they are not personal in that sense. But these are other friends as a personal who are friends also to whom I look up for a lot of things.
Family?
Family, of course, my wife has been instrumental in helping me a lot. And my sons are in their own way struggling with their profession. In my family, I have 2 granddaughters, and they are the most precious things for me at the moment. My most strongest feelings of love for my both granddaughters. One granddaughter, I want to learn keyboard from her. With another granddaughter, I like to learn how to be more naughty in particular phase of life. So they are the great treasures for me at the moment.
So have anybody asked you, why can't you lead a simple life? Why are you making it complicated unnecessarily within your
Yeah, one of my granddaughters asked me, but she's proud of me also. She is proud of me also. Both ways. It goes both ways. And many friends do comment that you had a simple life as a IIT professor. Why you had to do all this? Because in between I used to travel a lot.
Yes.
Pre-COVID. So that many of the friends used to advise, take it easy, be at home, enjoy your granddaughters and wife's company, and daughters-in-law company, sons' company. They used to advise me, but anyway, it is a mixed feeling.
Yes. So I mean, like, you need to have a peace within yourself,
Yeah,
Dr.
yes.
And
I'm peaceful. I have
yes.
no regrets. I have no regrets in balancing. I could balance partly because I took a lot of travel also with my wife. Global tours are also I have done with my wife. So I have spent a lot of time with my family also.
Totally. I think, how do you approach, I mean, like, your role as a writer, your role as a speaker, your role as a YouTuber, your role as an Instagrammer, and anything that you do? What are some of the key messages and impact you want to convey to your audience?
See, the key message is that first is, of course, our biggest religion should be moralism, morality of humanism.
Hmm.
And our present thing as Indians should be Indian Constitution, believing in liberty, equality, fraternity, and keeping the goal of United Nations Charter of Human Rights, global citizenship, whole humanity is one. So these three things I would like to means deepen within myself also and try to convey it to the friends who care to listen to me.
Totally. So looking ahead, what are some of the goals or projects you have in mind for the future, and how do you envision continuing your work in promoting secularism and human rights?
Yeah, looking ahead, one is that we want to revive the workshops where the next generation of activists, writers are rooted in these secular democratic values. That is a major goal I'd like to aspire at this moment. Because other things, writing wise, I have covered the basic areas which I have to do. So I'll keep updating that. But major focus will be how do I bring up, not as a person, but as our center and in collaboration with friends, the next generation of people to be rooted in these secular democratic values.
Totally. I think as the last question, or maybe last one or two questions, what are some common misunderstandings people have about communalism and nationalism?
Yeah, communalism, people try to identify that religion is, this is related to religion. And communalism has nothing to do with morality of religion at all. Religion here is used as an instrument, and particularly identity of the religion is one which is used. So that is as far as communalism is concerned. What is the second thing you asked? Communalism and
Communalism and nationalism.
yeah, about nationalism. Of course, nationalism can play various forms. Like emerging Indian nationalism played an anti-colonial form, which was brilliant. Nationalism of European countries, once they industrialized, it assumed the form of imperialism, colonialism. That's where Rabindranath Tagore was rightly and strongly critical of that. Your nationalism should be your loyalty to the people around. When you want to oppress other countries in the name of your nation, that is a something which we should abhor, which has happened in the history. Many countries, the Europe have tried to do, and even economic imperialism, where you try to exploit other countries economically, the way, sorry to say that, America has done from last many decades, is something which is abhorrent, and we can't go by that. Maybe some other country may do tomorrow in the same lines, but this is somewhere where the boundaries of the countries should be loose. And I always look up to that European model where the boundaries of the countries are made loose and they are basically not the dividing point, but the uniting point. I would like to see nationalism where your boundaries are not dividing, but uniting with the people across the borders. So that's, of course, a dream, probably a utopia, but that is something which we should try to strive to go towards.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I think, we deeply appreciate all the wisdoms and insights you've
So,
shared today, Dr. Ram Puniyani. But What future do you envision for India in terms of intercommunity relationships?
Yeah, that of course today, till a year ago, we had a very pessimistic picture. Then some of the developments which you can easily recall, especially that Bharat Jodo Yatra, Bharat Jodo Abhiyan, and the realization that religious politics in the name of religion doesn't pay. This is dawning upon many people because even the example of Sri Lanka, where Singhala Buddhist nationalism, and in Pakistan, where Islamic nationalism, Taliban, all these are things which we should never follow. So that is the lesson which I think many people are learning, that religion is religion, it is a morality, and politics should be based on people's needs, bread, butter, shelter, employment, dignity, rights. So this distinction, I think, is becoming clear on the people, which I think seeps deep into the people, and they're able to live their own religion and respect the religion of others in equal measure. And once the respect comes from others for others' religion, automatically your citizenship becomes more important than getting entrapped into the narrowness which many people try to bring up in the name of religion.
Wow, thank you. I mean, like the insights that you gave for individuals, communities, governments to navigate these challenges and harness these opportunities. It's thank you. That's really amazing. So I wish you, your family, everybody around you, all the good health and happiness, Dr. Ram Puniyani. Your relentless pursuit for communal harmony and human rights, along with your personal anecdotes, have been both enlightening and inspiring. I'm confident that our listeners too have gained valuable insights. For our listeners who want to delve deeper into the issues or follow your work, Dr. Ram Puniyani, where they could find you?
See, somehow on social media, on Google,
Yes.
most of the topics related to communalism, nationalism, they
Yes.
can find in abundance. Like my last 20, 25 years, many earlier articles are lost, but from 15, 20 years, they are very much there on the Google. And my YouTube channel is there. And apart from my own YouTube channel, there are many other YouTube channels which interview me, which take a series with me. So if they type Ram Puniyani YouTube videos, they will get a whole list of things which are there. And I think there are plenty of them to give an insight into what I want to strive for.
Yes. Thank you. I think as we close this episode, is there any part of your life or career, or is there any last few words that you would like to share to the listeners?
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for bringing this in. I am also sorry that I became a bit with tears in my eye when that I'm sorry for that. But overall, I one achievement I feel that I have learned a lot from various interactions and various mentors. And failure, I feel, is the same, that the next generation we have not been able to bring up as powerfully as we should have. So that is the thing. So there is something to be satisfied with and something to remain unsatisfied. And that's what keeps you going. If you're totally satisfied, you cannot go further.
Yes. I think your message is loud and clear, Dr. Ram Puniyani. I think don't even worry that it hasn't reached the younger generations or anybody. All it takes is a small drop, and you have been doing it consistently. It will take it to the people. And I think a part of this podcast, I plead anybody. If you are influenced by Dr. Ram Puniyani, just go and say hello, and so I'm sure he'll be happy to hear from you. So thank you very much. Thank you. As we continue our dialogues on Baachu Talk Equity Matters, we are reminded of the crucial role each one of us play in nurturing an inclusive and equitable society where everyone feels a sense of belonging. Thank you for listening to Baachu Talk Equity Matters. With every episode, our hearts grow stronger and our voices bolder. Let's carry this energy forward, relentlessly pursuing justice and uplifting the unheard. Stay connected for more inspiring episodes. Until next time, stand up, speak out, and transform the world with us. It's Bhaskar Sundaram from Baachu Talk Equity Matters, signing off with unwavering determination.